Oh, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's time to start. So welcome to the second practical operational excellence webinar. Thanks for joining. The agenda for today, we will have Solomon from EIB. He will introduce the LMS, the operational excellence course that is available in the EIB e-learning system. He will present how to access that. Then Alick and Gabriel from IITA will introduce the 8 wastes, or how they are using that in their operations. And Jennine from IRRI will also talk about the improvement that IRRI is doing in the lab. Okay, so next slide, please, Sam. Before we go to hand over to Solomon, please, I will invite you to respond to some of the questions. Please do that in the chat and during the presentation. You don't need to answer that now, but this is really would. I think that it's not really only important, but I think that it's really useful for everyone here to understand how the idea for this webinar is exactly that: sharing experience, sharing practices, and connecting. So the first question is, if you participated in the first webinar, where you could learn a little bit more about 5S, for those who were able to participate. The second one is if you tried to apply the 5S to your workplace, and it can be either because you participated in the webinar, or if you have maybe if you learned that in different organization or training, if you have tried 5S in any way in your workplace. If you applied 5S, please elaborate a little bit more. Describe that, where and how you applied that. And of course, also, if you want to apply, if you haven't applied, or even if you have already applied, but if you want to continue applying 5S in your workplace, please also send us a message on how you want to do that. As I said, so please do that in the chat. We can collate that later and try to, at the end, in the final of the presentations, we will comment on that. Thanks again for joining us today. With that, I will invite Solomon to take from that. Solomon, are you there?
Yes, Gustavo, thank you.
Please share your screen. Go ahead. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, we can see.
Good. Thank you, Gustavo. My name is Solomon. I'm from EIB and Summit Knowledge Management. Today, I'm gonna give a demo on how you can take this continuous training on or using our learning management system. So I'll focus on the not on the whole system, but I'll focus on the course rather. Saying that in order to take the course, you need to first log into our learning management system, or our platform for learning management system. To do that, you need to go to the link lms.excellenceinbreeding.org, short way of learning management system, lms.excellenceinbreeding.org, as you can see on my screen. When you do that, you'll be presented with the page like this. This page gives you some information, the latest trainings, and a little bit about the platform. But most importantly, it gives you two links here. One is register. The other is login with EIB account. Yeah. So most of you, I think you already registered into the platform. But anyway, for those of you not registered already, you can register by clicking the register button. When you click register button, I open the page to save the loading time. When you click the register button, you will get this form. So just by filling this form, you will register not only into the learning management system, also you will be registered into the whole Excellence in Breeding platform. So currently you can log into the platform, which is excellenceinbreeding.org, or the portal, and also to the learning management system. And in the future, any application which requires login to the Excellence in Breeding will, for that purpose, you can use this login information or your credential that you get by registering here. So once you register, normally once you register, you will get a notification which confirms that you are already registered. You will get an email for the confirmation, and also on the email it will say that you should wait for the administrator in order to activate your account. And mostly within 24 hours, the administrator will activate your account. So just after the activation, you will receive an email says your account is activated, and also a link. So by following the link, you can set your password and username. So using that username and password, by coming back to the lms.excellenceinbreeding.org, you can log into the system by clicking login with account. By typing your username and password, the password that you set before, you will be logging into the learning management system. The first interface looks like this. Whenever you log into the learning management system, you will get your profile and the course that you took. So the continuous improvement training will be one if you already started taking, but if not, it will not be displayed this. I mean, if it's your first time, it will not be displayed this. So how do you get it? You just need to go to the catalog menu from here. I hope you are seeing the icon on top here. When I click catalog, when I click catalog, it shows me the list of trainings that are available in the learning management in the system. So from those lists, you just need to click the continuous improvement training. Just to save the loading time. So when you click the continuous improvement training from the list, you will be presented with this list of information. Yeah, here is the list. From the list, as you can see, for the time being, you can see 2 trainings here, but now we will focus on the continuous improvement training. So since I already started taking the course, it shows me 39%, and the button is continue training. But for those of you who just started the training, instead of saying continue training, it will say start the training. So when you click that, you'll get the training information. Here there are some components. Just to go to give you an overview. You can, as you can see, you can get, or you can track your progress from top here, and a little bit about the training, some description, the length that it's going to take. Normally, it's estimation, and here the modules inside the training. These are the modules that you will get when you go to the training. The list of the modules are listed here. So there is one important component here also. Most of them are information, as you can see, but one component we have, it says document library in the right. If you, I'm sure you are seeing it here. So document library, when I click that, I'll get the materials for this course. So by opening the folders, just like browsing your computer, by opening the folders, you can access the material of that training. Especially it's since it's categorized by a module. After you take the course, you can come up and get the specific materials for that specific modules. As you can see, when I click this, it opens the materials, the assignments, and everything. And when I want to go back to the parent folder, I will click the parent folder here, and I can access the whole material from here. Then, like I said, you will get to start the training. For me, it's continue training, so I'll click continue the training. So when I click that, I'll get into the training detail. As you can see from the left side, the modules are listed here, and one module might have different activities, like the video. Inside that, there are some contents, some depending on the modules, you will get different things. How you can go there? You just need to click next to navigate into the modules. For example, now it's on first module on practical continuous improvement course intro. So I click that, and I'm gonna see the video, and then when I finish, I'll click next, and that's how I travel into the courses. And once I go through every modules, some of the modules might have questions which you need to answer directly here in order to go to the next modules. So once I finish this list and then the whole courses, I can get my certificate for finishing the course in the achievement menu on the right, or on the last menu from the top. The achievement part, simply it shows you your progress. For example, I took most of them, but from module 4 I didn't take the course, the module, so it's empty. Because of that, the certificate is not downloadable for me. But once I finish the all modules, I can easily download the certificate. You can download the certificate as soon as you finish the course, or you can log into the system and download anytime you want. Most of that, this is overall the course, the platform and the course integration. If you have a question, Gustavo, if it's the right time for now, you can do, or later. Thanks.
Thanks, Solomon. Yeah, of course, if anyone has any question, or feel free to put in the chat, and we can collect that later. Yeah. So thanks, Solomon. Alick, Gabriel, are you there? Who would be presenting from you?
Hi, Gustavo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I might have some technical issues, so which kind of is ironic, because I'll be talking about time wasting, but I might be wasting people's time, but not by not connecting quickly. Gabriel is going to be running the presentation for me, so My name is Alick Mulenga. I'm with IITA, head of farm management and breeding operations, and I'll be presenting on the 8 wastes with Gabriel. So we've divided our chat into, rather our presentation in 2 sections. I'll be talking about the 8 wastes, just the theory, and then Gabriel will give some examples from the field perspective. So a little more practical. So Gabriel, do you have the presentation on? Gabriel? No, Gabriel.
I can't see his name here in the participants. Alick, I don't know if he joined.
Okay, let me see. Maybe I might be able to share. Gabriel? Let me,
If you want, Alick, I can share it from here.
Alick is not there. He's not on this chat.
Sorry?
He's not on the chat. He may be having issues.
Yeah.
No, he's not even in the list of participants.
That's why he's not on the list of participants. Let me
Talk to him a few minutes ago. I was supposed to run this for me. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, my network went off. I think it's the general network on M10 provider. I'm back now.
I think we'll just share from, I don't know which. Okay, so like I said, I'll talk about the 8 wastes and identifying the wastes, and then Gabriel will talk about the practical aspects. I'll just focus on the theory. Next slide. So the objective of this talk is for us to learn about the 8 wastes and be able to identify the waste in a process. And then to understand that waste is not, those activities that are not adding value, the activities that the customer is not willing to pay for, and how can we eliminate or reduce those activities. Next slide. So like I said, waste is non-value adding activities. And it is scary to know that we only, of the activities that we carry out on a daily basis, 95% of them are non-value adding and only 5%. It was actually scary to find that this is the reality. Next slide. So again, this slide just demonstrates that we are only aware of a few waste activities that are time wasters, such as waiting. These are obvious, apparent to us, or defects that we see in the process. But beyond that, there are other kinds of waste. Next slide. Just keep on clicking, such as motion, transportation, underutilized talent. Next, overproduction, overprocessing, inventory, how we manage inventory. So you can see that actually most of the activities that are classified as waste are not apparent to us. So we have to be proactive in identifying those the waste beyond what we see. And an easier way for us to actually remember the 8 wastes is by using the acronym Downtime, which basically stands for defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. So for defects, that would be things like the rework that we have to do when we're working with defective products. The scrap that comes out of waste or incorrect information when we are given incorrect information, we are forced to do our work again. Like we have to ask for the accurate information. So that's just wasting time and not adding value to what we are doing. Overproduction, that's when we produce more than is needed or before it's needed. Waiting, this is time that we spend waiting for the next step in a process. Non-utilized talent, this is when we are not using people to their full capacity according to their talent, skills, and knowledge. Transportation, when we are moving things between factories or from one department to another, it comprises of unnecessary movement of products and material. Inventory, when we produce excess products and materials that are not being processed. Motion, unnecessary movement by people walking around, not knowing what to do because things are not structured. Extra processing, more work or higher quality than is required by the customer. Next slide. So waste of defects. This specifically is caused by poor quality control at the production level, poor machine repairs. In our case, say a defective tractor or a defective implement that might not be turning the soil the way we want it to, or preparing the soil the way it should be. Lack of proper documentation. There's lack of process standards. So when we don't standardize our processes, like if we need SOPs in our case, not understanding your customer needs. So you're producing products that won't be used by the customer. Inaccurate inventory levels. And to overcome things like this, we need to focus on actually standardizing the processes or using principles of Six Sigma to reduce defects. Next slide. The other time waster would be or rather waste would be overproduction. This is when we are dealing with unreliable processes, unstable production schedules, inaccurate forecast and demand information. So we do not know what the customer wants. We're just producing just in case. We're just producing just in case it's required. Customer needs are not clear, so we are not communicating properly with the customer. So we do not know what they need, and as a result, we are overproducing. Poor automation, long or delay setup of setup times. So to combat this, we would use principles of just in time, where we are producing based on what is required by the customer. So it's a pull system. We put in place systems of forecasting what the customer needs. So we are only producing what's required. Next. Waiting is, again, like I said, is something that we all experience, like traffic and things like that. But usually this is a result of unplanning or poor planning, unplanned downtime or idle equipment, long or delayed setup times, poor process communication, lack of process control, producing to a forecast, or idle equipment. To overcome this, we have to improve communication so that, like in a process, say we should communicate with the next person in line so that they know when to expect the item for processing. Like say for between field work and seed processing, instead of the people in the seed processing plant waiting for us to take the seed to them to process, we should know when that item, when the seed will be delivered to them. So we should have a form of communicating with the next person in line, and also just having a continuous flow process if where possible. Next slide. Another waste is not recognizing the talent of the people that we have, not communicating properly with them in terms of what they are supposed to do, failure to involve the people in the workplace, not empowering them, making sure that they are involved in the decision-making process, or lack of inappropriate policies in place that are not clear for them, incomplete measures in place, and just poor management. Also, lack of capacity building, where we are not updating the skills of the workers, the staff, to match the changes in the processes. We should have incentives in place to make sure that people are motivated to do their work, and also utilizing the talent that we have. So have an inventory of what skills people have and apply them accordingly. Next slide. Transportation is this also is also common, where we are moving material products from one geographical area to another. That doesn't add value. Taking time to handle material, producing large batches that are sitting in the warehouse and they have to be moved to another location. Having multiple storages so that you end up moving from one location to another. So this is good where if we centralize the operations. Poorly designed production system, and we can overcome this by reconfiguring the how we do our work, maybe to move the plants closer, or in our case, if we can move the farm unit and seed processing a little bit closer so that we don't have to move back and forth, and just reduce non-essential transportation of materials and products. Next slide. Inventory. This also is sort of tied to overproduction of goods. So we end up with goods that we can sell. So we are forced to store them. And this is going to cause increased cost of storage. Like we're spending more on power, refrigeration. And it's also caused by things like delay in production, inventory defects, or excessive transportation. So again, this can be overcome by forecasting what we need so that we are not overproducing, using just-in-time purchase of material. We purchase as we need the material as opposed to just in case. And also just try to reduce the gaps in the production. So streamline the processes of production. Next slide. Motion. This is caused by poor configuration of the workstations, the layout. People advocated sort of like if you did, I remember when we're designing a kitchen at one of my houses, the designer actually recommended that we have the kitchen design sort of in a triangle where you have the counter, the sink, and so it minimized the movement. And also just poor production, poor process design, shared equipment and machines. That's going to result in people moving from one station to another, as opposed to having everything close by. Lack of production standards. So we can overcome this by having standard operating procedures in place, flow charts for how the work is going to move, workstation design, like I said. And this has an impact on health and safety because people have to be bending, kneeling, picking up things. So it's not very healthy for the employees. Next slide. The waste of processing. This is when we add more value to a product than is needed by the customer. Like the customer is not necessarily doesn't need that extra mile that we are going in processing the product. So this is wasted, is considered as a waste. And this is as a result of us not understanding the customer needs, also human errors, and also a slow approval process or excessive reporting. So this can be overcome by value streaming, mapping, and also being more customer focused. So if we understand what the customer needs, actually, this is going to help us making sure that we only add the value that the customer is willing to pay for. Next slide. So what are some of the symptoms of waste? Of course, you're going to see things like duplication because people don't know what they're supposed to do. One person is going to be repeating what the other person is doing. Walking around, people just walking around because they do not know what they're supposed to do. We'll be missing deadlines because there is always pressure, confusion in terms of what we're supposed to be doing, always searching for items because we don't know where they are, delays in production, so we are not meeting the customer needs, we are not producing on time, and there's just complication and chaos. People put it leads to overtime because we are required to overwork some of the material that's damaged, and people will be generally tired and waiting, and there's a lot of errors actually will ensue, and it's time consuming. Next slide. So some of these just side effects or toxic effects of waste. Like I said, it does lead to fatigue. People are generally tired because they are overworking. They're emotionally tired and frustrated with what they are doing because things are not streamlined. There's increased stress. Also, they blame game because people don't know what they're responsible for. So people are blaming the next person in line. And just low self-esteem, especially when we are not using the talent that we have properly, and indecisiveness, low morale amongst the employees, and in the end, actually, we might end up losing the customers because we are not able to fulfill their needs on time, or we are not giving them the product that they need in terms of quality. So I'll pass on to Gabriel just to give some examples from farm management point of view. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Gabriel.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, please, can you move on to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Overproduction in our research farms, we often produce more than is required to make up for our yield losses. And this is worst of the waste ever, because the overproduction waste actually lead to more wastages like inventory and likes of it. So as we go down the line, you're going to see some examples of that. So as you can see, these are pictures of wastages from overproduction. So the warehouse is just clustered up together because of our overproduction. So what do? We use the 5 whys tools to actually identify the root cause of our overproduction waste, and we address them immediately. So we meet frequently and have effective communication with the team members, also by aligning our operations across board to reduce mismatch in our production. Then this has actually reduced our overproduction waste by 10% since the conclusion of our CI program. Next slide, please. Yeah, this problem is inventory. These are inventory waste. This problem is mostly caused by overproduction, like I said earlier, poor equipment layout, keeping defective parts, and mismatch in our production. So what do we do to actually arrest this waste? We apply the five S tools to reduce the inventory waste, which are the sorting, the setting in order, the shining, the standardizing in the sense of creating standard operating procedures to follow, then sustaining. Then we also using the 5S tools as help us reduce our inventory waste by 45%, and we are working hard to actually reduce this waste to the barest minimum. Next slide, please. Yeah, transportation waste. This waste is actually peculiar to all farm activities, moving the tractors from the tractor shed to the feed, moving grains to the processing centers and the likes of that. So this is a peculiar waste to all farm setups. So what we do to actually arrest this kind of waste is we look through our transportation operation by mapping out our processes and identifying the process that causes this transportation waste. Then we actually use a tool called spaghetti diagram. This is one of the process mapping tools we use. Using this mapping tool actually helps us to reduce our transportation waste from when we started making use of these spaghetti diagram tools. Next slide, please. Yeah, motion is common on the field. You see people moving around. doing nothing. So you see a lot of people working without working. You're just working, standing, being idle without working. These are waste. So what we do to actually arrest this waste is we provide them with tools and machines. We provide tools and machines to the field workers and operators. We organize all their daily issues and tools and machines in the workshop for easy access. We make sure that the workshop and their tools are actually closer to the field. We assign each operators and field worker to a particular task at a given time to make them more organized. Then doing this that actually helps us reduce our motion waste. If you can look at the picture, you see a lot of people waiting, just standing, doing practically nothing. So these are type of motion waste. Next slide, please. Yeah, overprocessing. Overprocessing is common to most of our organizations around the world. So we have a lot of paper-based processing in the research farm unit of IITA. Example is like what you're seeing on the screen. We say that before we use the paper-based request form, so which goes through a lot of processing and it actually creates a waiting time. So we have to switch to the Microsoft form for our farm requests, and these are actually help us reduce overprocessing with waste and actually help us reduce paper waste and actually giving us more robust and easier access to storage system for our work activities and data using the OneDrive cloud storage. So the use of technology has actually helped us reduce this waste drastically. Next slide, please. Sorry, I forgot to mention something about overprocessing waste. We also have waste of operators doing plowing operation like 2 times or doing having operation like 2-3 times just to make sure they get the softness in the soil that they actually require. But this can actually be reduced by critical supervision of the operators. Doing it once or twice is actually enough for the next operation process. So those are type of overprocessing waste. Then down to defects, we actually identify defects in our processes, and this is mainly because of lack of standard work and lack of training and lack of good SOPs. So what we do here is we use the 5 whys. 5 whys is actually a very powerful tool. So these actually help us to identify the root cause of the defect and actually help us to know the substandard processes that we're actually going through. Then setting up the SOPs are actually setting up SOP are currently being revised and developed to address and reduce the defect drastically. Next slide, please. Yeah, the other process here is waiting waste. Waiting is one of our major wastes in IITA, which is mainly caused by delay in approval, machine breakdown, poor layout, mismatch in production rate, and insufficient staff. So what we do here, we do proper planning across the team using Miro storyboard to align all our operations, ranging from the breeding operations down to maintenance, repairs, and planting. Then we're also working on layout to improve our, to reduce our waiting waste. Then process mapping tools has helped us reduce waiting time in our operations. Next slide, please. Yeah, people skills, unutilized skills. Employees are not often involved in decision making and problem solving tasks. Our terms of reference are narrowly defined and lack of training. All of these affect IITA research firm unit employee ability to showcase their skills and talents. So what we do in this case, we still make use of the Miro board. We have frequent meetings. We engage everybody in the process mapping. We expand our tasks. We give everybody a sense of responsibility, and we actually have a friendly approach while engaging subordinate and supervisors. So these have actually helped us identify the potential in our staff and reduce waste of unutilized talent. In fact, 4 out of 10 staff in the unit in RFU, including myself, are now actively involved in providing solutions to problems. Next slide, please. So how does waste get here? We actually incur waste because we forget to change the solution when we change the process. Then we fail to understand why we do some things a certain way. So we continue doing that way, even if the limitation has been removed. Then due to this, it is already built into our processes. Next slide, please. So how can we find waste? We can find waste by the time you remove your value added work, every other thing there is waste. We can actually go out there ourselves. We can observe the processes as if we are not part of the system. So we can talk to the operators, the field workers, and understand what we do and the things that we do, and to know why the waste are actually there. Next slide, please. Then how do we remove this waste? all of the main tools are designed to remove waste and identify waste. Like the 5S, 5S is very powerful tools. Like the 5 Ys, standard work, process mapping, mistake proofing, and one-piece flow. All of these tools are actually very, very, very essential for removal of waste and to identify waste. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the effect of the 5S in our farm. This is in Kano station. We have the tractor shed, we arrange, we use the 5S, we sorted out, we remove what we don't need, we sorted out, we rearrange them, we shine the place, we standardize this, and we are actually looking forward to sustain it and even make it better. And this is Abuja station. Usually we used to have a lot of motion here. So we reduce motion waste. We have just one tractor and one operator working on this. Before it used to be like two tractors, like two tractors, two operators, and probably 4 field workers. But now this has been reduced using the 5S. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the effect of 5S too. The picture shown in the inventory waste was actually gotten from the storeroom in one of our field in Kano station. So it was cleared out and we rearranged the place. We sorted out the waste, the seed and the grains that are there. Then we arranged pallets for proper arrangement of grains. Then we actually clean up the place and actually make sure that everything is in good shape using the 5X tools. Next slide, please. Then attitude is very critical. Henry Ford said, and I quote, if you think you can, or you think you can't, you are right. So let's keep the right attitude to reduce waste. Thank you for listening. Any question, please?
So thanks, Gabriel. Thanks, Alick. So yeah, maybe we can put the questions to the end and give us the chance to Jennine to present her work and yeah. So thanks, Gabriel. Thanks, Alick. Jennine.
Hello, good day, good morning, and good evening to all. So I'm going to share my screen. Just for a second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I will be discussing the workflow improvement in the lab that we have. This was we had this one in the continuous improvement program we had in 2021, which was conducted by Teresa. So I'm Jennine Lapis, and I'm from IRRI Service Laboratories. So as a background in our where we are located at IRRI HQ in the Philippines. So this is the building that we for the laboratory. It's in the 3rd floor. We have the parameters. We offer some services to our customers. We have the rice grain quality evaluation. We have the analytical testings, and also lab instrument support. So most of these parameters we offer it from for our research partners here and research groups in the IRRI headquarters. So for the next process, you can see here the services that we offer. So this year we received around 7,500 samples, or a total of 35,000 tests or parameters. So our lab is composed of 13 staff, but due to the pandemic, we have our skeletal staff who works on 2 shifts. So we try to look on how we can be more efficient, even if we do just small changes. This is the general workflow we have with our request. So when we receive a request from our customer, we process it, approve it, and then when we receive the samples, we plan it and then analyze those samples. So the final data will then be given to our customers together with their excess samples. So what do we do in order to improve this process flow that we have? We stated, we identified the problem we wanted to improve, like a mini project. Here we stated the current problem, the impact, and the desired setup. So we wanted to improve the workflow of our samples in the lab. Samples are placed in areas where we process it or analyze it. So that's different areas in the lab. So when one analyst would need to process the same set of samples for a different test on a different day, that analyst would spend some time searching for those samples. And sometimes they would try to ask other staff to help out. So with the different areas used to store the samples, we may not be able to maintain the quality of the samples. So our desire is to have an organized, maintained, and easily accessible area for the sample. So it won't disrupt our analysis or tests being done in the laboratory. So this is the process flow. It might be too much, as you can see, but when we receive the samples, we check it if it passes our criteria, and then we schedule it. So these different items here are the tests that we offer in the lab. So this is for softness and all. And each of those processes, we have different things, different processes to be done in those tests. And for example, in grain elongation, we have to scan it, cook it, and scan the cooked ones, and then data process. So sometimes these steps, we need around 1 or sometimes 3 research technicians in order to deliver this one. As you can see, there are lots of changes in hands in handling of those samples. So this is the ways that we identified, so that we wanted to improve. So we identified from the 8 ways that we have, we identified five categories. So that's unutilized talent, the defects, the inventory weighting, and the motion. So for the unutilized talent, you would see here that instead of focusing his or her time in processing the samples, they take time to look for those samples, and then you ask for additional manpower or additional staff to help and locate those samples, because we get stressed, or we get fatigued from, just looking for it, that we might have lost the samples. Another ways that we identified is the sample quality. It may be affected due to the poor storage condition if you just place it anywhere in the lab. So also possible loss of samples. It's not really, the sample is not really gone. It's still in the lab, but you can seem to find it. So that's a problem we don't want to have. For the storage of the space, we consume space even if the samples are already completed. So this also results in an increased power consumption to maintain that storage area. And the waiting, we don't want to wait. So we have delays in our analysis due to the searching for the samples. And in the long run, could also delay our customers' next process, because we had delays in delivering their completed results. So it delays their next process, which might be seeding, might be planting. So it has an effect on all of this. And the waste of motion. When we are trying to look for something, even if it's not, maybe it's at work or at our homes, when you look for something, you go back and forth, sometimes several times. So that's also waste. So from the waste that we identified, we used it to improve the flow of our samples. Here are the 3 points that we wanted to focus on. So the current practice of having the sample boxes in different areas had to be improved. So the plan is to organize and separate samples in each category. So you have the new, you have the ongoing, you have the completed, and you have the area for the disposal. So the future practice is to assign 1 staff who will be in charge in maintaining all the different areas. We will also have a bulletin area to locate those samples. So the completed samples would be removed in the main lab. And after 1 month of notifying the customer to get their excess samples, we will properly discard them, the samples. So we will also start in having proper labels to standardize it. So it would be easier to know that what samples are inside each of those boxes. This is the floor plan of our lab. It's around 800 square meters. So this is the, I'm going to show you the main area. So this is the main lab. As you can see, other rooms are for instruments and other sample tests. We have some offices. So if I'm working my samples here and then I'm going to start analyze, but I need to look for the samples first. So I go to this area, I look for it, I can find it. I go to the next area where I know some of the samples are placed. I still can find it. So go to the next table, maybe it's there, but still I didn't find the samples. Go to this long area, long table, no samples. Go to the back because this one area is where the hull mill grind samples. Still I can find it. Go to this area. This is where we temporarily store our samples. Still, I didn't find those samples. So then I return back to the main lab and then I get frustrated. Then I get stressed out. And then I ask other staff to help me out and maybe some fresh eyes if they can locate it. So you can see that this process in looking the samples, it may take at minimum 10 minutes if you walk fast. So how could we improve this one? Just showing you how the boxes are placed in different areas. You can see there are lots of boxes. These are completed. These are ongoing. These are new samples. As you can see, there are lots of boxes. Still more boxes. Completed ones, maybe from years, maybe 2 or a year ago. So we wanted to improve that one. But first, we wanted to improve this one, the visual management board. This is where we can see the schedules of our samples, what samples process. So we try to remove the waste here. As you can see, it doesn't contribute to the helping in organizing the samples, so we remove this one. And then the bulletin area, this one hasn't been used. So this is the improved one. For the details on how we did it, we just got some laminating film, recycled ones, heat pressed it to make pockets for the labels, printed some labels, put some lines on the floors for the ongoing samples, have a calendar for us to know when we need to discard those samples. Okay, so these are the other details. I'm gonna just run to those slides. So our lean action plan is we wanted to organize things. So we assigned some staffs to do the 3 points, like label new samples when it comes in, so it doesn't get lost. So check that the only ongoing samples are in the main lab. So we have 2 shifts, so we assign two staffs that will make sure that the ongoing samples are in the main lab. And then we need to check the lead samples that they are discarded properly after 1 month from notifying the customers. So this is the floor plan with the spaghetti diagram earlier. With those improvements that we did, it's now this one. You might not see it, but this is the line. Okay. So when I want to analyze my samples, I just go to this area, and then when I get it, I go back, and then it may take me 30 seconds. Okay. So that's a 95% reduction. So previously, if you walk fast, 10 minutes per staff. And then currently, you can just spend 30 seconds. So if out of the 13 staff that we have, for example, 7 research technicians will analyze some samples. So if those 7 technicians will take 9.5 minutes each per day, it will take the lab 66.5 minutes the whole day. For the whole year, it will amount to 33.25 days. At first, it might be not too much, but when you get to the per year setting, 33.25 days can be equivalent to $1,862 per year of the cost of the labor. Or we can do additional 3,300 samples to scan the chalky grain dimensions for scanning of the rice grains. Or we can do additional 4,600 samples to the hull and mill. So you can see those changes, small ones, but big effect. So to give you the before and after. So before and after, we have the boxes. We don't have it anymore in the work areas. We checked all the completed and discarded the samples. We have cleaned up the visual board area, so it will be more organized. So to summarize this presentation, the impact of this mini project is we had the 95% reduction in time for locating samples. We don't need to go back and forth. So because you know where it is located. So no need for turnover of the samples because we have 2 shifts. So others work in the 3-day and 3-day shift. So we don't need to wait for them to reply to us and where the samples are. And then we can focus more on the sample analysis. And then the storage space, you won't consume much because you have a scheduled discard for the samples. This can be easily implemented maybe at home or in work offices. And then for this project, it costs $0 and staff time, prepared like 4 days. So that's the summary of this mini project. I didn't want to waste more of your time for this morning or this evening. So special thanks to Ate Joy and Tiago for my classmates from CI project, Risa, Dr. Sharifa, Sir Rulix, Mrs. Ma'am Lily, and ISL staff. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennine. Really good job. Good to see things. You're doing better and better. No? Yeah. So thanks for that. I have we have here one question in the chat. I think this is maybe to Alick or Gabriel. The question came from Martin. Isn't walking a good practice in reducing fatigue in time-demanding work? Alick, can you respond to that?
Certainly walking is good in relieving fatigue, but what we're talking about here is unnecessary motion. When you are walking while just waiting for the next person to pass on the product to you to process, I think that's what we are trying to eliminate. It's idle walking, just not serving any purpose. But certainly we want to encourage people to take breaks and in between jobs. And if that constitutes walking, that's fine, but we don't want to encourage just idling around, walking around while we are executing certain activities.
Yeah, thanks, Alick. I think the next one is maybe you can also comment, Alick, from Sylvia. On the motion waste, is the weather condition taken into consideration? Hotter climes may require shades for the staff to take breaks.
Yeah, so again, it's sort of the same premise. Again, you want to encourage people for health safety to take breaks when the weather is unbearable. But at the same time, when we are doing our job, we want to make sure that everything is planned out properly and people are not doing unnecessary motions. Actually, motion can also be detrimental because we're trying to discourage people from bending and all that. Like it can also have an impact on somebody's knees or back. So we have to strike a balance. But when it comes to weather, you want to watch that, especially in Ibadan where it gets really hot. You want to give people breaks and make water breaks in between so that they are not overheated, they are not stressed.
Thanks, Alick.
Sorry, hello.
Go ahead.
And in addition to that, when it comes to having shade, we have this art that will give the field workers to wear that has shade, so it actually prevent them from direct sunlight. So it prevents them from the harshness of the sun. So that's my contribution on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. Thanks, Alick. So we have a question from Ranjana. He said a great presentation and I'm sure the situation is the same in many other labs across different CG centers. My question is to Gustavo. How are we planning to get the efficiency improved in laboratory conditions across the CG centers? I think that this is exactly this webinar is one of the initiatives that we are trying to do to support not only labs but operations in general to be more efficient by sharing experience and sharing different ways of work, different tools, and get people exposed to that. And so this is one initiative, of course, training training that you saw today, the e-learning materials prepared, and IRRI is one of CG's center too, and this improvement is part of that. Similar as that, we organize another training in CIMIT. So yeah, this is not the improvement will not come from the night. I mean, it's a process, takes time. So it's a step by step, small improvements, and eventually after a certain period of time, and then we will see good things, good and impacts, and the genetic gain at the end. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we are running out of time now. So, but anyway, thanks for everyone that joined. Please feel free to contact either the IRRI team, Jennine, Sharifa, or Alick, Gabriel, Teresa, myself too. If you have any questions or suggestions, or if you want to learn more about any of the cases that they presented today, and of course, contact me if you need any other question. The other questions I see here in the chat, I will call. Please send. Let's collate that later, and we'll respond. Put that into the, or we can publish that in a way, or even in our website, or we can respond directly to the person that made the question. Thanks again. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Teresa.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye-bye.